Hi there, everyone. I just wanted to do a review on Stephen King's The Shining. Um, when it comes to this book, it's really going to be a book versus movie type of conversation because I first saw The Shining Kubrick film when I was very young. So that's what I thought The Shining was. I didn't read The Shining until a few months ago. Um, the reason for that, I think I've mentioned in other videos, is that I'm a fan of reading a book first and then watching the movie, which means that when I see a movie before, I tend to leave that book until later because I'd rather read books where I haven't seen the film. So I've heard that Stephen King was not a fan of the Kubrick version of the story, and I can really see why. Um, let's just go into some instant likes about this book that I really found fascinating. I absolutely loved Jack Torrance as a character. That's the father. Um, he's so much more complex in the book than he is in the movie. He's a very in the movie, let me tell you why. So in the movie, it's almost like a cabin fever type of feel. Until I read the book, I literally thought this was a story about a man being Jack who was driven insane by cabin fever, and the supernatural element was all kind of in his head. Um, that was kind of what I thought it was. That's certainly not the case. I got a little bit closer to the truth when I read Doctor Sleep, which has been a while ago. But there's a lot of reference to The Shining because Danny Torrance, the son, is obviously the main character of Doctor Sleep. So I kind of got some elements of, oh, okay, there's more going on with that hotel, the Overlook, than the film really portrayed. The biggest thing that I want to get through is, and a reason you should really read this book, is that Jack Torrance is a he's not really a villain in my opinion. In the movie, he was definitely portrayed as that. So he's more of a good guy who's a weak person and is just very human, and is falls victim to this place that he happens to be living in, the Overlook Hotel. Danny, as a character, was what I expected him to be. There's more to Danny also in the book. And then I'm going to go into kind of the differences. All of those scenes where Jack Torrance is typing, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, in that giant reception room, isn't even in the book. What he actually spends his time doing is going through paperwork in the basement of the Overlook, trying to piece together a history of it. And then he feels as if he's going to write the history of the Overlook, which would be a very interesting history indeed. And The Shining itself, the book, tells a very interesting history of the Overlook. There's going to be spoilers in this, guys, as there's spoilers in all my videos, just so you know. Um, so that was one thing. Also, the Overlook in the end of the book explodes, and that's because of the boiler. There's a very temperamental boiler that Jack has to, depressurize every evening to keep it from blowing the hotel sky high. So in the end, Jack is a bit of a hero because he is ultimately responsible for the demise of the Overlook. So he obviously stalks his wife and son. He causes grave injury to Dick Halloran, the cook who comes up from Florida because Danny called him with The Shining. He's an individual with The Shining also. If you know nothing about what I'm talking about, The Shining is a mental ability to, it's telepathy, basically. You can hear the thoughts of people, and if there's another shiner person around, you can speak to them without speaking. And The Shining has various strengths. There are people with a weak shine, there are people with a strong shine. Danny has a very strong shine, And this is why the Overlook wants him, because it's a very evil place, and it feels that if it can kill Danny and have him haunting its walls, it will become immensely more powerful. So yeah, Jack, stalks his family, causes injury to Dick Halloran, and all of this stuff. But in the end, he's the one who actually blows up the Shining, or blows up the Overlook. So he's kind of he redeems himself in that nature. Also, there's a very good scene where Jack is stalking Danny. And by the way, another difference, subtle, but in my mind, it's very big. I don't know why, but in the Kubrick version in the film, he's stalking them with an axe. In the book, he's stalking them with a roque mallet, which is, I believe, roque is how you say the word. I'm not exactly sure. Roque is a game very similar to croquet, so it's like this wooden game mallet. And there comes a point where Danny's trying to run away, and he gets cornered, and he basically looks at the thing in his father. The hotel has overtaken him, and he basically says, "I know you're not my dad." And in order to prove this point, the hotel controlling Jack takes the mallet and smashes Jack's face in with it, and just causes a void there, and all of that grotesque gore in that different things start to fill in, and you see different faces of people who have died in the Overlook and all of this stuff. So it really proved the point that Jack was in fact a tool used by the Overlook, and it's not him himself trying to kill his family. He loves his family. Again, I loved him just as a weak person trying to get along, trying to redeem himself. He is an alcoholic. He is, that's basically what the Overlook uses to unwind him and to get him on the dark side, if you will. So, yeah, great book. There's another scene that doesn't make it into the book at all, having to do with the menagerie of hedge animals.
I hate to break the fourth wall on myself, but the menagerie animals are in the book. They are not in the movie. Okay, continue.
Um, the topiary, I believe is how you say that word, and it's very creepy. Stephen King has an uncanny ability to make us afraid of things that we shouldn't really be afraid of. Like an example would be Christine, a car. In the Dark Tower stories, there's Blaine the train. You're afraid of a train, and you're like, I don't really know why. In this one, you're afraid of topiary animals, so hedge animals. Again, very good. Winifred, the wife, again, she was a little more complex in the book, but not overly. I liked her more as a character. And Dick Halloran, you definitely see a little bit more of an angle on Dick Halloran, and he lives. So I like that he lives in this movie version. He doesn't live, or you just assume that he died. He's actually responsible for saving Winifred and Danny, getting them down off of the mountain. So yeah, I think that's really all I kind of have to say about that book. I would definitely suggest reading it. There wasn't a lot I disliked about it, to tell you the truth. It was a very claustrophobic feeling. You could actually feel the claustrophobia setting in on them, and just separation they felt from society. Yeah, so give it a look. I would definitely suggest it, and thank you so much for listening. All right, have a good one.